disability, which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Bruce, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from the June 4th, 2026 issue of the Niagara Falls Review on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Police spend $534,000 on drones, but we can't tell you about them. Article by Alan Benner. Niagara Regional Police have spent more than $500,000 on drones, but we can't tell you about them. Members of the police board purchased an unmanned aircraft system through a single-source procurement during an in-camera meeting on April 23rd and publicly reported the purchase last week. A brief report about the purchase said the system is deemed a leading capability currently deployed by multiple law enforcement and government agencies in Ontario, Canada, and the United States. The purchase price was put at $386,000 in U.S. funds. That's $534,650 in Canadian funds, based on the current exchange rate. Board member Pat Chiuccio began to ask a question about the purchase during last Thursday's meeting, but was told he'd have to wait until the closed session portion because the matter was initially discussed in camera. NRP spokesperson Stephanie Soberin, in an email response to questions, said the purchase went behind closed doors because it relates to policing techniques and operational procedures which were relevant to the procurement process. For that reason, we're not able to provide any further details about the equipment itself, Soberin said in an email. She did not respond to questions about the vendor, manufacturer, or number of drones being purchased. In general, unmanned aircraft systems are valuable tools that can support a variety of public safety functions, including search and rescue efforts, major incident response, scene documentation, and other situations where aerial support can help officers work more safely and effectively, Soberin said. The NRP's 2026 capital budget includes $862,400 in equipment for its air support unit that was launched in October, including drones. A report about the budget allocation, also presented to board members that month, said the implementation of the air support unit is imperative due to increasing threats to public safety, the acceleration of technological advances, recent and upcoming legislative changes, the increasing complexity of remotely piloted aerial systems, RPAS, operations, and the necessity for stringent compliance with Canadian aviation regulations. The report said the service already owns drones and related equipment, but they are currently assigned to various units throughout the service, have inconsistent capabilities, are of varying ages and conditions, and may not have the depth and breadth of functionality required based on today's standards and needs. Drones recently purchased by the service, including one bought in 2024, cost $20,000 to $30,000 each. Ottawa endorses plan to move marine land whales. Relocating these animals is an extraordinarily complex undertaking. Article by Liam Casey. Ottawa has endorsed a plan to move Canada's last remaining captive whales to aquariums in the U.S. and Spain. There are 30 belugas and 4 dolphins at Marineland, the shuttered theme park in Niagara Falls, that still face mass euthanasia should the deal fall through. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans has issued the first batch of permits to move the whales and is set to issue different permits closer to the move, which is expected to take place in the next few months. It recently issued permits for the whales and dolphins under the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora otherwise known as CITES, CITES permits. I think this is a positive step forward, Fisheries Minister Joanne Thompson said Wednesday. There's still more work to be done, but it's a step forward. Her office said the ministry is coordinating with the Canada Border Services Agency, Health Canada, and other ministries to ensure all requirements are met for a safe and timely transfer. Marineland said it is fully committed to the safe and timely relocation of our beluga whales, and we want to be clear, this is our top priority. Relocating these animals is an extraordinarily complex undertaking, Marineland said in a statement. The logistical, regulatory, and financial requirements involved are significant, from securing cities' permit to coordinating transportation plans, animal health assessments, and cross-border requirements involving multiple government agencies. We are navigating this process as urgently as possible while ensuring the welfare of the animals remains paramount at every step. Ottawa has not decided whether it will provide taxpayer dollars to help move the whales. Thompson did not answer questions about federal help for the move when asked Wednesday. I'm concerned with permits, she said. 20 whales, 19 belugas, and 1 killer whale have died at Marineland since 2019, according to provincial government data obtained through Freedom of Information laws and official statements. The former tourist attraction has been closed since the summer of 2024 as the estate works to move the park's remaining animals and sell the sprawling property near Horseshoe Falls. The animals must be moved in order for a massive real estate deal to go through. The belugas and dolphins are set to head to 5 marine parks: Shedd Aquarium in Chicago, Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, SeaWorld locations in San Antonio and San Diego, and Oceanographic Valencia. Mystic Aquarium in Connecticut, where Marineland sent 5 belugas to in 2021, will also help with the move, the American consortium said. The Canadian Association of Zoos and Aquariums, an industry group, has also been helping Marineland organize the rescue along with its U.S. counterpart, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. In its review, DFO concluded that moving the belugas to the aquariums, all of which are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, is in the best interest of the animals' well-being, said Johnny Ford, a spokesman for Shedd Aquarium and the rest of the consortium. While this is an important milestone for the whales at the closed park, several additional logistical steps and permits are still required before rescue can begin. The consortium shared its rescue feasibility and animal transport plan with Ottawa and Marineland in late March. The plan, obtained by the Canadian press, lays out a complex move believed to be unprecedented in scale. It will involve a number of staff from Marineland and the American aquariums, specialized containers to hold 1 whale each, transport trucks, and a police escort. The finer details will be ironed out in the coming weeks. A rescue of this scale is extraordinarily difficult, the plan notes. The proposed plan was developed with input from experts at several accredited aquariums, drawing on decades of hand-on care experience, the latest animal welfare science, prior beluga rescue efforts, and direct observation of the individual whales and their needs. The park's founder, John Holer, died in 2018. His wife, Mary Holer, took over operations of the park and put it up for sale in 2023 before she died in 2024. The estate has been working since to dismantle the park, which features roller coasters and other rides, and rehome its vast menagerie. Marineland sea lions were moved to the Vancouver Aquarium in February, and its last 2 seals went to a park in Quebec earlier this year. 2 weeks ago, Marineland sent its 12 black bears to the Wild Animal Sanctuary in Colorado, a sprawling forested park with about 1,000 large carnivores, including bears, lions, and tigers. Oh my. Several hundred deer and elk remain at Marineland as it slowly moves those animals out. Last fall, Marineland applied for export permits to move its cadre of belugas to Chimelgong Ocean Kingdom, an aquarium in China. Thompson rejected Marineland's application because she said she did not want to subject the whales to a future of performing in captivity, which is consistent with law passed in 2019. Marineland had worked on the deal for years. Sources at the park said Chimelong was set to buy all of the belugas for about $5 million, with the move costing at least another $5 million. In response to Thompson's denial, Marineland said it was quickly running out of money and needed an infusion of emergency funds to keep feeding and caring for the whales. Without that, Marineland threatened, it would have to kill its belugas through mass euthanasia. Marineland is now giving the whales to the U.S. consortium. The park will be out of money within months, the sources said. Frivolous, vexatious complaints about council could be costly. If you want to play, you're going to have to pay, Mayor says. Article by Ray Spiteri. Filing complaints with Niagara Falls Integrity Commissioner could prove costly for some complainants. City Council was to debate a proposed bylaw that would allow the municipality to particularly recover from complainants investigative and legal costs associated with probes the city's integrity commissioner determined were frivolous or vexatious. But discussion was deferred to a later date as Council Vince Curio, who asked staff to look into the matter, was absent from Tuesday's meeting due to a medical procedure. A staff report on the agenda said, depending on the complexity of issues in a complaint, the city pays an integrity commissioner and any legal representative for respondent counselor invoices in the 4 to 5 figure range. Staff is recommending a bylaw that would see frivolous or vexatious complaints liable for paying 50% of incurred costs. In recent years, counselors have had to respond to complaints that were deemed to be unfounded but still required the expense and investment of a response, said the report. It said significant municipal resources, including the budget reserved for investigations, have also been spent. To be clear, if the Integrity Commissioner dismisses a complaint but does not make a finding that the complaint is frivolous or vexatious, then this bylaw is not triggered, said the report. An appeal mechanism would ensure parties disputing the application of the charge have some recourse. Staff said they reviewed case law and legislation associated with the Integrity Commissioner's jurisdiction, definitions of what constitute frivolous and vexatious, and the ability of the city to recover some of the administrative costs. They also consulted with the Integrity Commissioner while preparing the bylaw. Under the Municipal Act, the city can levy charges to recover costs for the provision of its services and statutory mandates, said the report. Written correspondence from one resident, also part of Tuesday's agenda, requested council not approve the bylaw in its present form. Jody Burdett has filed several complaints over the years, including some that the Integrity Commissioner deemed frivolous or vexatious. He asked council to defer the bylaw until council receives a public report addressing, among other issues, the city's actual administrative costs, the effect of ongoing legal scrutiny of the municipality's Integrity Commissioner fee practices, the Ontario Ombudsman's prior warnings about charging complaint fees, and the complaint history data needed to determine whether the bylaw is evidence-based and proportionate. This proposed bylaw is not a minor housekeeping matter. It would allow the city to charge a complainant 50% of certain invoices connected to an Integrity Commissioner complaint, including invoices from the Integrity Commissioner and legal representatives, said Burdett. It would also allow an unpaid charge to be treated as a debt and added to the complainant's municipal tax roll. That is an extraordinary step in the context of a public accountability process. The issue is not whether the city should tolerate genuinely abusive complaints. It should not. The issue is whether the city should respond by creating a broad financial risk mechanism that may discourage residents from using the Integrity Commissioner complaint process at all. In an interview, Mayor Jim Diodati said he agrees with the bylaw. Some people unfortunately game the system, and they use taxpayer dollars to either promote themselves or treat it like a sport. And it's unfair, he said. It takes up a lot of staff time, it's a big distraction, utilizes a lot of taxpayer money. What we're saying is, if you want to play, you're going to have to pay. People need to realize complaints should be legitimate. We don't even profess to be perfect or to be above the law. If your concern is legitimate, then it should definitely be heard. But if you're just taking advantage, then there's a price to pay. But Burdett, in his correspondence, said the proposed bylaw risks blurring the distinction between an unsuccessful complaint and one that's frivolous, vexatious, or made in bad faith. It would expose residents to potentially large financial consequences after the fact. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Falls Review on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. A busy summer. OHL draft, coaching search, top priorities for new GM of Niagara Ice Dogs. Article by Brent Frank. The Niagara Ice Dogs have a new general manager, but whether they will open the 26-27 Ontario Hockey League season with the same coach has yet to be determined. While newly hired GM Dale DeGray has talked with Cries Barch about his potential return for a second season as the team's bench boss, there nonetheless will be a coaching search before a decision is made. As we go through our evaluation process, I owe it to this organization to do my due diligence and explore all options available, DeGray said. The goal is to empower the organization and make the best decision possible for our hockey club as we move forward. DeGray, who is joining the Ice Dogs after 19 seasons as general manager of the Owen Sound Attack, hopes to have a coach in place by the OHL draft, which gets underway on Friday, June 12th in Kingston. I am going to do my due diligence, speak to people, and compile some names, and move forward at the pace I feel comfortable with, he told the Standard. His discussion with Barch about the coaching vacancy went well. I was very impressed by his professionalism and passion for this organization, DeGray said in a story posted on the Ice Dogs website. In his first season as head coach at the major junior level, Barch, a one-time National Hockey League player, led the Ice Dogs to a 33-30 and 42 regular season, their first above 500 finish since 2019. There isn't one coaching style that guarantees success as far as DeGray is concerned. I believe coaches have to understand who they have on the bench, learn their traits and abilities, and push them to be their fullest, he said in an interview. I think that's when you get your best team and the best out of the individual players. DeGray, 62, suggested that today's players are a different breed compared to when he played, or even those who competed 10 years ago. They are smarter, faster, and stronger, and most are incredibly skilled, he said. It's a difficult task for any coach or coaches. But those are the ones you look for so that they can get the best out of the group you have. Goaltender Charlie Robertson is among the 3 overagers ineligible to return for another season, but DeGray likes where the Ice Dogs are between the pipes heading into the 2-day draft. I think the one place we have some depth would be at goaltending. I believe the goaltending from last year was good, he said, with Vladislav Yermolenko coming back and a 17-year-old rookie as a backup. I like the thought of that. Unlike the drafts DeGray oversaw in Owen Sound, this year's draft is being held in a central location. Slush Puppy Place, home of the Kingston Frontencas, and will be the first in-person selection of top prospects since 2000. I'm a big fan of the old way where you sit in a row and hash out things with your group, he said. I think this will be exciting for the fans and for any players in attendance who get drafted. Yes, there will be some disappointed players at the end of the day, but I guess so is life. Agents will need to mend some hurt feelings. DeGray can go either way when it comes to that most asked question leading up to any sports draft: fill a need or best player on the board. I believe in trying to fill holes, but there is definitely an argument for the best player when your holes are multiple. With OHL players now eligible to play at NCAA Division I programs and the NHL allowed to assign top prospects to American Hockey League teams, assembling a team, let alone sustaining success, at their major junior level has become more difficult. There is no question that putting a highly competitive OHL team together from year to year is very difficult from what it was in the past, DeGray said. You often could play off of a 3 to 4 year cycle and know what you're going to get. That has all changed for sure. Dog Biscuit's right-shooting center, Ryerson Edgar, Niagara's top pick in the 2025 draft, made the OHL second all-rookie team after finishing fourth in team scoring with 23 goals and 26 assists for 49 points in 64 games. Forward Ethan Zada, a left-hand shot and Niagara's third leading scorer, has been traded to the Guelph Storm along with a conditional draft pick for forward Carter Lewandowski, defenseman Zach Naish, and 4 draft picks. In 63 games, Zada, a Tampa Bay Lightning prospect and the team's captain, had 25 goals and 28 assists for 53 points in his third season in Niagara. GM Brownfield, a lesson in advocacy for Girl Guides. St. Catherine's Troop writes to Mayor about Ontario Street property. Article by Karina Walter. Girl Guides, Lana and Catherine, had never written a letter to a mayor before they put pencil to paper about the former GM site on Ontario Street. The pair were among a dozen guides who sent messages and drawings to St. Catherine's Mayor Matt Sisko last month, asking for a cleanup at the former industrial site as part of a troop exercise about advocacy. Their letters were inspired by articles, blogs, and social media posts they were shown at Girl Guides, including screenshots from a video of young trespassers walking through the site that showed broken glass, garbage, and busted walls. Mine said that I don't think it's good for the animals and that taking it down would protect the animals, said 11-year-old Lana Suave during the troop's weekly Monday night meeting. Fellow guide Catherine Marin, 12, said she told the mayor it doesn't help the earth and he should take it down. I thought it was gross. The girls' introduction to civic matters recently took on a new meaning when they learned from their leaders that city bylaw officers issued orders last week requiring the site at 282285 Ontario Street either be repaired or demolished due to multiple alleged property standard violations under the Ontario Building Code Act. Even though the bylaw office received a formal complaint that prompted the investigation of the site and orders, the timing has made the girls, aged 9 to 12, feel like they were heard too. Both girls said they would write a letter to the mayor again if they had something to say. The program is really about empowering girls to participate in activities where they can gain confidence and develop leadership skills, said Erin Panda, a volunteer guider with the 35th St. Catherine's Unit, who organized their letter-writing initiative. We have different areas that we're working toward so that they can earn badges, but we also try to have it very much led by what they're interested in. The former GM property discussion came up when they were doing Earth Day activities, which included making pollinator homes and a water filter. Panda said one of the objectives was learning the difference between advocacy versus service, and they talked about issues that were important to them, like animals, the environment, and clean water. She said one of the girls had seen the Billboard Coalition for a Better St. Catharines had put up on Ontario Street about the GM site, so Panda did some research about the property. They discussed as a group what different levels of government are in charge of, and the girls brainstormed ideas that went into their letters. Sue Knoll, a leader involved with the organization for more than 25 years, said the guide's 3-year-long program covers a range of topics and interests, including outdoor activities like going camping and horseback riding, learning about money sense and budgeting, building skills such as home repair, trying out various crafts, and discovering what they are capable of doing with some girl power. The advocacy is one part of it and was expanded this year with the letters being submitted to City Hall. They really got into the writing letters, and they were really for sending them in, Knoll said. The former GM Brownfield was an automotive manufacturing site for a century before General Motors closed the plant in 2010. It was purchased by Bayshore Groups in 2014, but mortgage holders, Salernus Investment Partners, have assumed oversight of the property. Blaze at Thorold Heat Treating Facility causes millions in damage. Article by Mike Zettel. There were no injuries, though damage is expected to be in the millions of dollars after fire broke out at a Thorold heat treating facility Tuesday night. At 10:49 p.m., Thorold firefighters were called to IMT Elemental, the former H&S heat treatment plant at 133 South Street North in Port Robinson. Fire Chief Terry Dixon said the fire originated with one of the burners used to heat metals to strengthen them. The plant was in operation at the time, and employees evacuated once the fire broke out. The fire was contained to the single burner on the main floor, but spread up into the second floor, where employee lockers are located. Dixon said firefighters had to attack the blaze from the inside, where they encountered a great deal of flames and smoke. He said the fire was considerable, and crews were on the scene for roughly 5 hours before it could be confirmed extinguished. Those are big burners. They get very hot, he said. It takes a lot of water to put them out. Dixon didn't have an exact figure for a damage estimate, but said the equipment alone is worth millions of dollars. NRP Chair appointed to Ontario Board. Article by St. Catharines Standard Staff. After years of working to enhance political governance in Niagara, Nayahara Kapasonaha is now in position to help communities across Ontario. Kapasovana, who became chair of the Niagara Regional Police Board in January, was appointed to the Board of Directors for Police Governance Ontario during the organization's annual general meeting that continues until Wednesday in Niagara Falls. They called the appointment an honor, adding it would allow her to contribute to advancing excellence in police governance across the province. Effective governance is essential to building public trust, supporting accountable policing, and strengthening community safety. She said in a media release, "I look forward to working with colleagues across Ontario to share best practices and support the evolving role of police service boards." The NRP said she is a globally experienced governance, education, and policy leader. She has served on Niagara's police board since February of 2023, including 2 terms as vice chair before taking the helm at the start of the year. She is the founder and executive director of TOES, Tools of Empowerment for Success, Niagara, an organization that assists immigrants and racially marginalized women and their families. She was also a president of Niagara District Council of Women, a Brock University trustee, and YWCA Niagara director. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Falls Review on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Pearl Morissette, among North America's very best. Niagara Restaurant picked number 3 by culinary experts. Article by Victoria Nicolau. Jordan Station's restaurant, Pearl Morissette, has another major accolade to add to its ever-growing list. 2 Michelin stars. A 2-time back-to-back winner of the number 1 spot in Canada's 100 Best Restaurants magazine, and now a second top 3 ranking on the North America's 50 Best Restaurants 2026 list. Last week, the Niagara Restaurant was named number 3 among the top 50 restaurants in North America, a subset of the world's 50 best restaurants list. The North American version covers the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. Smith, a fine dining restaurant in Chicago, came in at number 1, followed by 8, an 8-seat, 20-course speakeasy in Calgary, 8's first time on the list. Overall, Canada took 14 spots on the 2026 list, including 5 in the top 10. Restaurant Pearl Morissette sits on 17 hectares of Lincoln Vineyard, farmland, and vegetable gardens, with a dining room on the top floor of a barn that blends agriculture and contemporary design. Owners and co-chefs Daniel Hadida and Eric Robertson honed their craft in Western Europe, with Hadida traveling through Latin America to connect with chefs and restaurants that highlight agriculture. In 2017, the 2 chefs merged their culinary experiences to open restaurant Pearl Morissette. The European-inspired dining vision, grounded in regional ingredients, with an approach that values authenticity, curiosity, and a mindfulness of both the land and the people behind it. In an interview with The Standard, after restaurant Pearl Morissette was named Canada's top restaurant in April, Hadida said its team feels just so wildly fortunate for its success, especially for a restaurant in the middle of nowhere, where local farmers show up at the back door. I've worked in the restaurant industry for 2 decades. I've seen a lot of versions of this, and I've seen a lot of things that didn't necessarily fill my cup in all ways, and I feel really grateful to be in an environment where I feel like we're at least trying to make that happen, said Hadida. Because the chef started with culinary ideas he described as novel and niche, expectations were initially low. Now, seeing people travel from different countries to visit, to hang out and be open-minded and curious, keeps them grounded every day. I've been close to small-scale agriculture and restaurants for a really long time, and I've seen the power of choice and the value of that, said Hadida. We're trying to be really consistent and intentional in our choices. A ceremony for the 2nd annual North American 50 Best Restaurants was held in New Orleans. The list is compiled from the votes of a 300-member academy of regional restaurant industry experts, dividing into 8 subregions, all of them independent culinary experts. North St. Catharines Bungalow offers tremendous value. Article by Victoria Nicolau. Community: North End St. Catharines. Price $599,000. Framed by leafy trees and carefully tended gardens, this North St. Catharines detached bungalow evokes a picturesque example of timeliness charm. Its shallow, gently pitched gabled facade creates a distinctive yet understated Tudor-influenced appearance, with exposed decorative timber contrasting the bright white exterior and manicured curb appeal. Sitting on less than a half acre of land, the $599,000 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home at 6 Wilshire Drive offers warmth, functionality, and future income potential, said listing agent Mark Malinowski of Right at Home Realty. It also offers lifestyle benefits, being close to waterfront trails, scenic parks, and more. The exterior stands out because there's not many bungalows that have this Tudor-style exterior, and I think it's super cute. It's just a very cute look for a property, said Malinowski. Super functional layout. It's a really beautiful layout, easy to live in. Built to 1978, the 97.5 square meter, 1,050 square foot, home opens into a bright, light living space with expansive window views to the front yard. The main floor features well-sized bedrooms and a bathroom, as well as a kitchen overlooking the backyard. The owners purchased the home in 2022 in impeccable condition, said Malinowski. The quality of the wood in the kitchen was excellent, requiring no renovations, and the owners opted instead to paint the cabinetry to a more modern color. The remainder of the house has also been painted, and a large portion of the flooring and appliances have been replaced. But other than that, they bought it in really good condition, so they haven't had to do much work. The property is really beautifully maintained. The backyard is very generous as far as the property size. The landscaping is beautiful. It's just very, very tidy, Malinowski said. While prices have come down in Niagara real estate, the market remains difficult, particularly for young families looking for affordable options in prime neighborhoods. Malikowski said first-time buyers often find themselves relegated to other communities in St. Catharines because of pricing, with homes in the northern parts of the city tough to enter. But the selling price is a beautiful opportunity to get people in a phenomenal neighborhood. Being priced just under $600,000 offers tremendous value for first-time homebuyers and those looking to downsize or right-size themselves into a bungalow for the future and still stay in an amazing neighborhood, he said. There's only so many properties listed in the north end of St. Catharines for this type of price point. Part of the property's appeal is a full-height basement, about 42 square meters or 450 square feet, with a bathroom. It has a separate entrance, which Malinowski said adds value for people wanting to create an income-generating suite or an accessory dwelling unit on the lower floor. The City of St. Catharines recently received its third Housing Accelerator Fund installment from Canada Mortgage and Housing Corp. That offers grants for the creation of legal dwelling units with a proper building permit and fire rating and safety inspection. Malinowski said bungalows have become increasingly popular as investors look to capitalize on their investments and or homeowners who want to make additional income within their own homes as living costs rise. If you're a first-time buyer or if you're looking to make your life a little bit easier, it's an investment you can make. Area amenities include waterfront walking trails, parks, a splash pad, and year-round programming at Port Weller Community Center and Sunset Beach, which just underwent a $6.9 million rejuvenation. Beautiful, mature greenery on tree-lined streets, and the neighborhood seems to be very community-oriented. The neighbors take care of each other. It's like that old-school wholesome community that you remember growing up in, and not every community offers that anymore, he said. What you want when you have a family or when you're living in a neighborhood is to have that peace of mind, knowing that the people surrounding you are looking out for you and you're looking out for them. DSBN robotics team caps season with trip to World Championship. 11-14 Symbotics squad is world's 5th ranked. Article by Victoria Nicolau. Beginning each January, First Robotics unveils a new set of rules for a brand new game. Teams from around the world are they given 6 weeks to design, build, manufacture, and test their industrial-sized robots. 6 weeks of regional and championship events follow, culminating in the first championship that brings together top robotics teams from across the globe. Team 1114 Symbotics, a district school board of Niagara Robotics team based at Governor Simcoe Secondary School in St. Catharines, has earned spots at the World Championship every year since 2005. In many ways, this year's competition season was a return to form. The DSBN team was undefeated throughout the playoffs, capturing wins at district qualifier events held at McMaster University and Niagara College. It also secured the provincial title in 2 rounds, marking Symbiotic's first provincial championship since 2022. The 1114 Symbotics team was also recognized with several awards honoring the excellence in programming, teamwork, and communication skills and the construction of its robot, Symbot Tim. Ranked 5th in the world, the team headed to Houston, Texas for the first championship. Although it fell in the division finals, team mentor Matthew Coffey said the team felt proud of its season, having accomplished its goal of improving at every step of its journey. The championship, which Coffey called the most important event to go to because they do such a great job with the spectacle, capped a season filled with hard work, commitment, and steady progress. We came out strong. We found ways that we wanted to improve, and we improved, said Coffey, who was a team member from 2007 to 2011. We felt like we built a pretty competitive robot off the bat, but to be a super successful team in this competition, you can't just be happy with pretty competitive. We spent a lot of time this year finding those small, minor ways to improve that will make us better. Grade 12 student Josh Felladar said the 28-member team entered the competition season feeling it had lost a step in recent years and determined to return to the top. Founded in 2003, 1114 Symbiotics has built 23 competition robots, won 38 regional and district competitions, and is ranked 5th in the world for the most Blue Banner wins with 61. The students won a world championship in 2008 and were inducted into First's Hall of Fame in 2012, the only Canadian team to earn that distinction. Felladar said senior students take on leadership roles each year, letting peers get involved in areas of interest, such as electrical work, design, and programming. Having joined the team in grade 10 with zero knowledge of robotics, Felladar slowly started taking on more of a leadership role and started leading students on my own. Coming from a student that has only been on a team for 3 years, and those years have maybe not gone entirely as we wanted them to, it was really exciting to see us perform that well, especially on the world stage. Coffey said one of the biggest aspects of robotics is that it's very iterative, a key reason the first program connects teams with mentors from around the world who can offer guidance and share their experience. Students work alongside engineers, teachers, and former team members, gathering knowledge from those who have been there before and, in many cases, build careers in the workforce. They're going to design something. You're going to make something, and it's probably going to fail. And you need to find ways to improve it and make it better. I think that's what this season was mostly about for us, he said. Coffey joined the Governor Simcoe-based team 2 decades ago with no technical knowledge and little thought about potential careers. It was taking on a leadership role that turned him towards becoming a teacher. I really liked passing the knowledge on that I had learned. And that's part of the reason him returning to 1114 Symbiotics, despite now working at a DSBN elementary school in Welland. He wants to give back to students the way mentors had once invested their time in him. Another part is seeing how students develop through the years. Felatar said joining robotics shifted his view from what is possible after high school, widened his post-secondary life options. I've seen students come in and they are super shy, super reserved. They don't know how to use any tools, and they leave in grade 12 as confidence leader, said Coffey. That's what's super, super important about this program. Outside the competition season, 11114 Symbiotic students lead Lego robotics workshops for DSBN elementary students and run 2 weeks of robotics camp each summer. They teach them about robotics, teach them about competitive robotics, teach them some of the basics just to pique that interest early on, said Coffey. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Niagara Falls Review on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Libraries to host new mobile clinics. Physicians to offer primary care services such as physicals, cancer care, and mental health counseling. Article by Omar Mosley. A new project aims to meet vulnerable people where they're at by offering health care outside of unexpected places. Local library branches. The University Health Network and the Toronto Public Library have joined forces to install mobile health clinics outside libraries where they will provide primary care. The mobile health clinics will offer a full range of primary care service, such as full physical exams, blood pressure checks, cancer care, chronic disease screening, and mental health counseling. The partnership is the brainchild of Dr. Andrew Buzzeri, who said it seemed logical because libraries are already places of refuge for vulnerable folks, and it could simultaneously address challenges with housing, substance use, and access to primary care. This is the part of that response to reach people who really need these supports and to ensure that it's not resulting in worse health outcomes or visits to emergency departments that could have been preventable, said Buzzeri, a physician, researcher, and founding executive director of the Gaduso Center for Social Medicine at UHN. The project launch coincides with the upcoming closure of 2 supervised consumption sites in Toronto on June 13th, after the provincial government announced it would stop funding the services across Ontario. 5 consumption sites have already closed in Toronto since March of 2025, leaving 3 privately funded sites in the city. The mobile health clinics were not meant to be a replacement for consumption sites, as the project has been in the works for several years. Buzzari said, drug use and drug testing are not allowed on site, and harm reduction supplies such as sterile pipes and needles will not be handed out. Healthcare workers on site will be able to provide substance use care, such as treating abscesses and infections, training in how to respond to an overdose, and can also hand out naloxone, which reverses opioid overdoses. They can also prescribe opiates, such as methadone, to help people get off street drugs. Having said that, if someone happens to overdose outside a mobile health clinic, they have staff who are trained and ready to reverse overdoses, Buzzeri said. There is a second van being outfitted, and there are plans to expand to other libraries and also Toronto Community Housing Complex, where there is a high rate of EMS calls and a lack of access to primary care. We want to see this expand, Buzzeri said. We want to really respond to where the pressures and volumes are, where the needs are. And that's going to happen both with the data, but also leveraging relationships with people with lived experience. Jess Hales, a nurse practitioner who will be working in the mobile clinic, said many vulnerable folks have had traumatic experiences in hospitals, so they end up seeking health care in community organizations or private clinics. I think the goal is to kind of rebuild those fractured relationships that happen as a result of stigma, Halls said. For the library, the partnership made perfect sense, said the Toronto Public Library's Ali Velji, Senior Manager of Adult Services. Velji said libraries are already regarded as open, trusted, welcoming spaces, and they see Torontonians from across the income spectrum. Teacher contract talks to start this month. Article by Christian Rashawi. Negotiation between Ontario's education unions and the provincial government are set to start this month. The 5 big unions, representing public, Catholic, and French elementary and secondary teachers, as well as school support staff, have each now served a notice to bargain, starting a 50-day countdown to talks. All education contracts expire at the end of August. We urge the provincial government and employer bargaining agencies to come to the table as soon as possible, prepared to engage constructively in negotiations, focused on ensuring every student has access to the supports, resources, and learning conditions they need to succeed, the union said in a written statement. The unions held a news conference to announce the move Wednesday morning, with leaders from the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association, l'Association des enseignants et des enseignants francophones, and CUPPE's Ontario School Board Council of Unions. In total, they have 255,000 members working in schools across the province. On Tuesday, at an unrelated announcement, Education Minister Paul Calandra told reporters he was quite optimistic about upcoming talks, but acknowledged there will be some tough negotiations, obviously, but they are always tough. I want the absolute best for teachers, and I want a fair deal for taxpayers. And I think we're going to get there, the minister said. The 2022 negotiations with the support staff union were fraught, with the government passing legislation preemptively banning strikes, using the charter's notwithstanding clause, and imposing a contract, prompting a 2-day walkout. The province later repealed the bill, and a tentative agreement was eventually reached. The situation in Ontario is not just challenging, it is dire, said David Maston, president of the Elementary Teachers Federation of Ontario, the country's largest teacher union, speaking at a press conference Wednesday morning. The challenges bringing us to the table have been building for years, and the consequences of inaction are becoming possible to ignore, added Martha Hardaway, president of the Ontario Secondary School. The unions have said they are looking for smaller class sizes, improved recruiting and retention strategies for teachers and staff, and more resources in schools. Maston previously told the Toronto Star his members want caps of 26 in kindergarten and 24 in grades 4 through 8, as well as a boost of funding for special needs students. The government has allocated more than $40 billion for education, but boards and unions have said it hasn't kept up with inflation and doesn't cover students' needs, in particular for those with special needs. A recent report from the province's Auditor General found that 46 of 72 school boards were spending almost $400 million more on special education than the province provides. Some 26 boards, however, spent $51.2 million less. Underage sex work sting leads to 11 arrests. Ottawa police say they've made 11 arrests in a sting operation targeting suspects seeking underage sex workers. Police say undercover officers posed as minors online and engaged with suspects who were allegedly trying to arrange sexual services from people they believe to be minors. Police say the accused are facing 26 charges, including obtaining sexual services for consideration from a person under 18. Staffer charged in armored truck heist. Toronto police have charged a Brampton man with theft from his own employer. The incident happened on April 14, 2025, when police say two guards drove their armored vehicle to complete a cash drop-off in Toronto just before 3:30 p.m. When the guards got out of the vehicle to deliver some cash, police say a white pickup truck approached the armored truck. A single suspect that got out of the truck and entered the unlocked front door of the armored vehicle, police said. Cash was taken and the suspect fled. An employee of the armored car company was later identified as a suspect and was arrested on May 13th. A 35-year-old man from Brampton has been charged with theft over $5,000, conspiracy to commit an indictable offense, and 7 gun crimes. A 64-year-old man who served as a pastor at the Chinese Christian Church of Ottawa from 2001 to 2005 is facing multiple charges of sexual assault. Former pastor charged with sexual assault. Ottawa police say a former church pastor is facing a dozen charges in an historic sexual assault investigation involving minors. Police say the 64-year-old suspect served as a pastor at the Chinese Christian Church of Ottawa from 2001 to 2005. They say he was also a pastor at the Toronto Chinese Mennonite Church from 1996 until 2001. They say he's been charged with 2 counts of sexual assault with a weapon and 3 counts of sexual exploitation, among other charges. Police did not specify the dates of the alleged offenses, but say they're concerned there could be additional victims. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the June 4th, 2026 issue of the Niagara Falls Review. We read from the Niagara Falls Review every Saturday at 7 p.m. Your reader has been Bruce. Thank you for listening. And as always, make it a great day.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Wall Street Journal Off Duty at 9 o'clock. We have Sports Illustrated at 10 o'clock. We have The Athletic. Stay with us for these readings and even more. You're listening to your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Our volunteer radio readers broadcast daily readings of newspapers, magazines, and books. For nearly 40 years, radio reading has served people who are blind or have a print disability throughout western New York and southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service studios are located at 1199 Harlem Road. Please spread the word about your Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. For more information, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability